はい、それでは何ですかこれ、ザ・スタンリー・パラブルですかね。やっていきたいと思います。どうやら言うことを聞いていれば進めるゲームだということで、早速始めていきましょう。
This is the story of a man named Stanley. Stanley worked for a company in a big building where he was employee number 427. Employee number 427's job was simple. He sat at his desk in room 427 and he pushed buttons on a keyboard. Orders came to him through a monitor on his desk, telling him what buttons to push, how long to push them, and in what order.This is what employee 427 did every day of every month of every year. And although others might have considered it soul-rending, Stanley relished every moment that the orders came in, as though he had been made exactly for this job. And Stanley was happy. And then one day, something very peculiar happened. Something that would forever change Stanley.Something he would never quite forget. He had been at his desk for nearly an hour when he realized that not one single order had arrived on the monitor for him to follow. No one had showed up to give him instructions, call a meeting, or even say hi. Never in all his years at the company had this happened, this complete isolation. Something was very clearly wrong. Shocked, frozen solid,Stanley found himself unable to move for the longest time. But as he came to his wits and regained his senses, he got up from his desk and stepped out of his office.
もう操作できますよ。というわけでね、このゲーム、今ナレーションがあったと思うんですけど、結構ね、その行く先々でナレーションを挟んでくるみたいなんですけど、ちょっと戦士が高すぎるちょっと待って、戦士が高すぎるんだけど、カメラ感度か2でも早い1でいいですね。 OK。 例えばですね、今部屋を出ていきましたと言われたんですが、何も起きません。なかなか待ってないと無理かな。こう進むにつれて。
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo. No matter how hard Stanley looked, he couldn't find a trace of his co-workers.
こうやってですね、遠回しに早く行けとせかされるわけですね。
Stanley went around touching every little thing in the office, but it didn't make a single difference, nor did it advance the story in any way.
こんな感じでですね、早く行けと。なのでナレーションの言うことを聞きながら進めていくゲームなのかと思いきやったとこなんですけど、まずはね1回目なんで言うことを聞きながらいきましょう。会議室へ向かえって言ってましたね。なんだあれ。
When Stanley came to a set of two open doors, he entered the door on his left.
左のドアに入りました。まずは言うことを聞いてみましょう。
Yet there was not a single person here either. Feeling a wave of disbelief, Stanley decided to go up to his boss's office, hoping he might find an answer there.
こんな感じですよ。なるほどね。書いてあることが英語で全く分かりません。あ、いた。 まあまあまあまあまあまあまあまあまあまあまあまあまあまあ
Stanley stepped into the broom closet, but there was nothing here, so he turned around and got back on track.
なんかあるんちゃうんないもんなんすね
There was nothing here. No choice to make, no path to follow, just an empty broom closet. No reason to still be here.
なんもないです上の階って言ってま
Coming
した
to
ね
a staircase, Stanley walked upstairs to his boss's office.
なんだこれただのトイレですここですか
Stepping into his manager's office, Stanley was once again stunned to discover not an indication of any human life. Shocked, unraveled, Stanley wondered in disbelief who orchestrated this, what dark secret was being held from him. What he could not have known was that the keypad behind the boss's desk guarded the terrible truth that his boss had been keeping from him. And so the boss had assigned it an extra secret PIN number, 2845.
教えてくれるんですか
Stanley couldn't possibly have known this.
あ違いましたね
Yet incredibly, by simply pushing random buttons on the keypad, Stanley happened to input the correct code by sheer luck. Amazing. He stepped into the newly opened passageway. 何ですかここは急展開すぎるやろ Descending deeper into the building, Stanley realized he felt a bit peculiar. It was a stirring of emotion in his chest, as though he felt more free to think for himself, to question the nature of his job. Why did he feel this now, when for years it had never occurred to him? This question would not go unanswered for long.
なんかポータル味があ
Stanley
るな
walked straight ahead through the large door that read Mind Control Facility.
エスケープって書いてあるんだけどちょっと待ってエスケープって書いてあるいやまあまあまずはねなんすかこれポチッとな
The lights rose on an enormous room packed with television screens. What horrible secret did this place hold? Stanley thought to himself. Did he have the strength to find out?
どんだけ高いねんこれ
Now the monitors jumped to life, their true nature revealed. Each bore the number of an employee in the building, Stanley's co-workers. The lives of so many individuals reduced to images on a screen, and Stanley, one of them, eternally monitored in this place where freedom meant nothing.
ほへー
This mind control facility, it was too horrible to believe. It couldn't be true. Had Stanley really been under someone's control all this time? Was this the only reason he was happy with his boring job? That his emotions had been manipulated to accept it blindly? No. He refused to believe it. He couldn't accept it. His own life in someone else's control? Never. It was unthinkable, wasn't it? Was it even possible? Had he truly spent his entire life utterly blind to the world? But here was the proof. The heart of the operation. Controls labeled with emotions. Happy, or sad, or content. Walking, eating, working. All of it monitored and commanded from this very place. And as the cold reality of his past began to sink in, Stanley decided that this machinery would never again exert its terrible power over another human life. For he would dismantle the controls once and for all.
なんかすごいことになってるけど、なんかすごいことになってますけどね。急に5 5? 3 1発見1 2どうだ暗くてわからん3え4を見つけてないよね。4なくね。あれか。あそこどうやって行くんすか。暗くて何にも見えないんですけど。あ、乗った。え暗くて何も見えんマジ。わからんわからん。ちょ引っかかりまくってる。ここなんすか。システ
And
ム
when
パ
at
ワー。
last he found the source of the room's power, he knew it was his duty, his obligation, to put an end to this horrible place and to everything it stood for.
オフ。
Blackness and a rising chill of uncertainty. Was it over? Yes. He had won. He had defeated the machine, unshackled himself from someone else's command. Freedom was mere moments away. And yet, even as the immense door slowly opened, Stanley reflected on how many puzzles still lay unsolved. Where had his co-workers gone? How had he been freed from the machine's grasp? What other mysteries did this strange building hold? But as sunlight streamed into the chamber, he realized none of this mattered to him, for it was not knowledge or even power that he had been seeking, but happiness. Perhaps his goal had not been to understand, but to let go. No longer would anyone tell him where to go, what to do, or how to feel. Whatever life he lives, it will be his. And that was all he needed to know. It was perhaps the only thing worth knowing. Stanley stepped through the open door.
どういうシ
Stanley
ステム
felt the cool breeze upon his skin, the feeling of liberation, the immense possibility of the new path before him. This was exactly the way, right now, that things were meant to happen. And Stanley was happy.
はい、というわけでね、今日もね配信ありがとうございました、今のが全部の言うことを聞いた結果でしたね。そしてメニューでも何でもなく普通に開始視点に戻されました。じゃあ今度は言うことを聞かずに行ってみましょ
う。All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
今度は言うことを無視していきます。
When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, this was not the correct way to the meeting room, and Stanley knew it perfectly well. Perhaps he wanted to stop by the employee lounge first, just to admire it.
ドアは開かないですね。
Yes, truly a room worth admiring. It had really been worth the detour after all, just to spend a few moments here in this immaculate, beautifully constructed room. Stanley simply stood here, drinking it all in.
なんか飲み物貸してくれ。
Yes, really, really worth it being here in the room. A room so utterly captivating that even though all your co-workers have mysteriously vanished, here you sit looking at these chairs and some paintings. Really worth it.
いでない。
At this point,
いでない。
Stanley's obsession
いで
with
な
this
い。
room bordered
いで
on
ない
creepy and reflected poorly on his overall personality. It's possible that this is why everyone left.
ひどい言われようですな。出ますよ。
But at last, he'd had enough of the amazing room and took the first open door on his left to get back to business.
最初のドアの左側行かない。なんでしょうこれ。
Stanley was so bad at following directions, it's incredible he wasn't fired years ago. 結構ルートがあんのかな。 Do not jump from the cargo. Lift while it is in motion. 罰金これ。 Look, Stanley, I think perhaps we've gotten off on the wrong foot here. I'm not your enemy, really, I'm not. I realize that investing in your trust in someone else can be difficult, but the fact is that the story has been about nothing but you all this time. There's someone you've been neglecting, Stanley. Someone you've forgotten.
ほら。
What? Really? I was in the middle of something. Do you have zero consideration for others? Are you that convinced that I want something bad to happen to you? Why, I don't know how to convince you of this, but I really do want to help you, to show you something beautiful. Look, let me prove it. Let me prove that I'm on your side. Give me a chance.
めちゃくちゃ焦ってる。カードキーが必要な部屋があったね。
Now listen carefully, this is important. Stanley walked through the red door.
赤い扉行きません。
Aha,
Oh.
perhaps you misunderstood. Stanley walked through the red door.
来ません。
I still don't
Ah.
think we're communicating properly. Stanley walked through the red door.
行きません。
All right, fine. Go ahead, Stanley. You want to know so badly what's out there? You want to find out what lies at the end of this road you've chosen? Well, don't let me stop you. You see? There's nothing here. I haven't even finished building this section of the map because you were never supposed to be here in the first place. Broken rooms, exposed developer textures. Is this what you had wanted? Was it worth ruining the entire story I had written out specifically for you? Do you not think I put a lot of time into that? Because I did. And in the end, it was all for nothing. Because this is what you wanted to see. Help me here, Stanley. Help elucidate these strange and unknowable desires of yours. What would have made this game better? What did you want to see? Vehicles? Skill trees? Work with me. You've given me absolutely nothing so far. Tell you what. Let me take a stab in the dark at a new design, and you can give me some feedback. There we go.
Oh.
A third option. This already feels leaps ahead of where we were before. Go ahead, Stanley. Take it for a spin.
あ、今なんつってた今やべやべ聞いてなかった今なんて言ってたちょっと配信を見返しましょう。何も言ってませんでした。どうぞ試してみてしか。せっかくだから俺はこのよくわからない扉に入るぜ。
Okay, I'm going to stop you there. Now, tell me about your experience with this new version. Would you say that the game benefited from allowing you more choices? Feel free to be honest. I'm looking for some real critical feedback here. A 1? I mean, I can understand if you had reservations, you saw ways the game could be improved to more fully express itself mechanically and artistically, but a 1? That's not even helpful. What am I supposed to do with that? But I guess it isn't my place to judge. Here, based on the data from your previous playthrough, I've compiled a new version. And to be perfectly candid, I think I've knocked it out of the park with this one. Let's take a look.
Oh wow. 何これめちゃめちゃ下におる。まだ行くぜ。
Now,
Oh.
would you say that competitive leaderboard helped you feel motivated to keep walking through doors? Again, honest answers, please.
辛口。
Hey, I nearly forgot. I've got a prototype of a new game I've been working on, and now would be a lovely opportunity to give it some playtesting. You wouldn't mind taking a look at it, would you? Perfect. Let me boot it up. In this game, the baby crawls left towards danger.
Oh, no.
You click the button to move him back to the right, and if he reaches the fire, you fail. It's a very meaningful game, all about the desperation and tedium of endlessly confronting the demands of family life. I think the art world will really take notice. But of course, the message of the game only becomes clear once you've been playing it for about 4 hours. So why don't you give it 4 hours of play to make sure it's effective? Be sure to keep notes on your experience.
危ない赤ちゃん
You heartless bastard. Did you do it because you hate babies or purely to spite me? Because if it's the latter, well, I don't know what to do. I'm completely out of ideas. I can't think of a single thing that might improve the experience for me. I'm not even going to try. I'm out. I'm done. It's over. Thank you for playing. Your input was extremely valuable. Oh, hey, since my game was so awful, why don't we play someone else's game? Just to ease the pain. Let's see. What do we have here? Yes. This seems like it'll work. Let's give it a shot.
おもろ。何これ
Ah, fascinating. What do you think this game is about, Stanley? What's our backstory? What is our motivation? Well, it seems obvious to me that you are meant to play as a creepy man spying on innocent civilians below you from up high in your creep tower, perhaps for some sort of twisted erotic purpose. Yes, that must be it. What a fascinating venture into the experience of total mental depravity. So far, I love everything about this game, Stanley. And it seems there's even more. Come, let's venture outward and see what else is out there.
マイクラのドアみたいな音したの。あ、しゃがめる今気づいた。しゃがめるやん。
Oh no. No, it can't be.
何が
It is. It's an open world game. Good God, quickly block it off.
ああ
Thank goodness, Stanley. What a close call.
封鎖された。
Really wandered off into that thing. That big open, just wandering around. No right or wrong directions. No path to follow. You can just go in any... Oh, thank heavens we avoided it. We're out of the woods now, Stanley. Okay, I'm going to get us out of here. Let's find another game.
うわ
Preferably something with walls.
ーうわ
Something
ー
with nice, big, insurmountable walls. Okay, I think this will be just the thing.
ああ
Wonderful.
これは
See, this is exactly what I had in mind.
ロケットリーグ
Just
だ
a nice big box for you to run around in. There isn't any possibility that you could get lost here. Now this is game design. Stanley, if you manage to get lost in this game, I will be phenomenally impressed.
丸パクリ
Okay, so what exactly do we do here? Let's see. There are lots of cars here in the back, but obviously there's no racetrack. Okay, I'm seeing that there's a ball of some kind back here. Is this game sports ball? Stanley, I think it's sports ball. Oh, what fun. We shall run the bases and do a touchdown together. Yes, I think surely we must. Okay, Stanley, here's the ball. Have fun.
ロケットリーグだあいてあいていけいけいけいけいけ
Are you
いけいけ
doing
いけいけい
it?
け
Are you winning? Is this fun?
やった
Is it better than my miserable little story that I worked so hard on? Stanley, I have a thought. And I realize I'm not a sportsologist, but if one ball generates a certain amount of raw adrenal
Ora.
pleasure, then surely multiple balls make for an even more euphoric sports experience. I'm going to try it out. Here comes another ball.
おっしゃ
Yes.
Oh,
Oh,
shit.
goodness, that really does feel
Oh, shit.
amazing, doesn't it? Stanley,
Oh,
I'm
shit.
like a child in a confectionery shop. I simply have to have more. I'm insatiable. More balls.
わあわあわあわあおらおらおらおらおらおらおらおらけけけけけ
Are you enjoying this, Stanley?
し
Having
ゃあ
fun? Is this a real video game? Well, I sure hope you're having a good time because guess what? It's over.
あ
That's right. Your little fun comes to an end. This is my game, and what I say goes. You get to have fun when I let you, Stanley. Besides, you need someone like me to set boundaries for you. Without rules or boundaries, video games are nothing. Yes, that's what I am. I am structure. I'm your sense of purpose. And since you decided you didn't want to play my game, now I don't want to play with you either. So, goodbye, Stanley. I'm leaving. See how you like it when I'm not around to set the rules. Somehow, I don't think you'll enjoy it as much. But who knows? You're an inventive kid. You'll come up with something. After all, you're the one who knows best. Take care, Stanley.
ひどいよもういい僕がボールになるバイバイ
Hold on. What are you doing? Stanley, don't do that. I can't follow you there. I can't help you. How will you write a story without me? You can't do it. You know that. Stanley, come back.
どんどん声が遠ざかっていったけどあまた落ちたのかどこここなんだここほんで暗お明かりついてる なんだここ。なんや。特にいじれるもんもないし。あ、なんだ。
I wonder what he found. If what he wanted was to be the leading man in his own story, well, perhaps he's gotten it. Down in wherever he is right now. I wonder if he's happy with his choice, and if he's learned the heavy cost that comes with it. He'll understand soon what I was trying to tell him. He needs me. Someone who will wrap everything up at the end, to make sense out of the chaos and the fear and the confusion. That's who I am. That is what I mean to this world. Oh, yes. Yes, I'll be back. There's no other way. Once this ends, after it all comes to a close, then I'll be back. The end will be here soon. Very soon. I can wait.
ああ。バッドエンド的な何かだったんでしょうか。戻ってまいりました。
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
3週目です。じゃあ今回は地味に言うことを聞かないで言ってみましょうか。地味にね。なんだこれ。Waiting input。インプットレシーブル。どういうこっちゃ。ね、何ルートあるんだろうこれ。わからんな。
When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left.
今回は最初に言うことを聞いた時のルートをちょっと地味に変えてみよう。
Yet there was not a single person here either. Feeling a wave of disbelief, Stanley decided to go up to his boss's office. Coming to a staircase, Stanley walked upstairs to his boss's office.
下に行ったりね。
But Stanley just couldn't do it. He considered the possibility of facing his boss, admitting he had left his post during work hours. He might be fired for that. And in such a competitive economy, why had he taken that risk? All because he believed everyone had vanished. His boss would think he was crazy. And then something occurred to Stanley. Maybe, he thought to himself, maybe I am crazy. All of my co-workers blinking seriously out of existence in a single moment for no reason at all. None of it made any logical sense. And as Stanley pondered this, he began to make other strange observations. For example, why couldn't he see his feet when he looked down? Why did doors close automatically behind him wherever he went? And for that matter, these rooms were starting to look pretty familiar. Were they simply repeating? No, Stanley said to himself, this is all too strange. This can't be real. And at last, he came to the conclusion that had been on the tip of his tongue. He just hadn't found the words for it. I'm dreaming! He yelled. This is all a dream. Oh, what a relief Stanley felt to have finally found an answer, an explanation. His co-workers weren't actually gone. He wasn't going to lose his job. He wasn't crazy after all. And he thought to himself, I suppose I'll wake up soon. I'll have to go back to my boring real-life job pushing buttons. I may as well enjoy this while I'm still lucid. So, he imagined himself flying and began to gently float above the ground. Then he imagined himself soaring through space on a magical star field, and it too appeared. It was so much fun, and Stanley marveled that he had still not woken up. How was he remaining so lucid? And then perhaps the strangest question of them all entered Stanley's head. One he was amazed he hadn't asked himself sooner. Why is there a voice in my head dictating everything that I'm doing and thinking? Now the voice was describing itself being considered by Stanley, who found it particularly strange. I'm dreaming about a voice describing me, thinking about how it's describing my thoughts, he thought. And while he thought it all very odd and wondered if this voice spoke to all people in their dreams, the truth was that, of course, this was not a dream. How could it be? Was Stanley simply deceiving himself, believing that if he's asleep, he doesn't have to take responsibility for himself? Stanley is as awake right now as he's ever been in his
駐車
life.
場ゾーンがなった。
Now, hearing the voice speak these words was quite a shock to Stanley. After all, he knew for certain, beyond a doubt, that this was in fact a dream. Did the voice not see him float and make the magical stars just a moment ago? How else would the voice explain all that? This voice was a part of himself too. Surely, if he could just... He would prove it. He would prove that he was in control, that this was a dream. So he closed his eyes gently, and he invited himself to
寝ちゃ
wake
う
up. He felt the cool weight of the blanket on his skin, the press of the mattress on his back, the fresh air of a world outside this one. Let me wake up, he thought to himself. I'm through with this dream. I wish it to be over. Let me go back to my job. Let me continue pushing the buttons. Please, it's all I want. I want my apartment, and my wife, and my job. All I want is my life exactly the way it's always been. My life is normal. I am normal. Everything will be fine. I am okay.
は
Stanley began screaming. Please, someone wake me up. My name is Stanley. I have a boss. I have an office. I am real. Please, just someone tell me I am real. I must be real. I must be. Can anyone hear my voice? Who am I? Who am I? And everything went black.
Ouch.
This is the story of a woman named Mariella. Mariella woke up on a day like any other. She arose, got dressed, gathered her belongings, and walked to her place of work. But on this particular day, her walk was interrupted by the body of a man who had stumbled through town talking and screaming to himself, and then collapsed dead on the sidewalk. And although she would soon turn to go call for an ambulance, for just a few brief moments, she considered the strange man. He was obviously crazy. This much she knew. Everyone knows what crazy people look like. And in that moment, she thought to herself how lucky she was to be normal. I am sane. I am in control of my mind. I know what is real and what isn't. It was comforting to think this, and in a certain way, seeing this man made her feel better. But then she remembered the meeting she had scheduled for that day, the very important people whose impressions of her would affect her career, and by extension, the rest of her life. She had no time for this, so it was only a moment that she stood there, staring down at the body. And then she turned and ran.
死んじゃった。なんか今んとこグッドエンドが一番最初の
What could it mean?
やつだけっぽいんだ
Stanley
よ
decided to
な。
go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
あら、なくなってます。
When Stanley came to a set of two open doors, he entered the door on his left.
言うことを聞いてれば幸せなのか。
Yet there was not a single person here either. Feeling a wave of disbelief, Stanley decided to go up to his boss's office. Coming to a staircase, Stanley walked upstairs to his boss's office.
開くんだここ。ここ開くんだ。何この自由突きつけられてるけど。 銃突きつけられたパンダの絵がある。どういうこっちゃね。あら、エレベーター行けるんすね。あおスタンリーって聞こえたけど。いや、同じとこや。同じとこやて。動いてる演出だけで動いてないと落ちこれ。うるさ。いや、同じやて。動かんって、このエレベーター。行けると見せかけていけないんやが。
Stepping into his manager's office, Stanley was once again stunned to discover not an indication of any human life. Stanley was in such a rush to get through the story as quickly as possible, he didn't even have a single minute to just let the narrator talk. That kind of anxiety isn't healthy, so he relaxed for a few moments with some calming New Age music.
なんだよ。
Feeling soothed and rejuvenated, Stanley calmly walked forward into the opened passageway.
全部読まれてんだ。なんかコメントのラグすごいね。なんだろう。ここで
Stanley walked straight ahead through the large door that read Mind
行かず
Control
に
Facility. Although this passageway had the word escape written on it, the truth was that at the end of this hall, Stanley would meet his violent death.
マジで
The door behind him was not shut. Stanley still had every opportunity to turn around and get back on track.
マジで
At this point, Stanley was making a conscious, concerted effort to walk forward and willingly confront his death.
Oh.
As the machine whirred into motion and Stanley was inched closer and closer to his
そういうこと
demise, he reflected that his life had been of no consequence whatsoever. Stanley can't see the bigger picture. He doesn't know the real story, trapped forever in his narrow vision of what this world is. Perhaps his death was of no great loss, like plucking the eyeballs from a blind man. And so he resigned and willingly accepted this violent end to his brief and shallow life. Farewell, Stanley.
助けて。やだ。
Farewell, Stanley, cried the narrator, as Stanley was led helplessly into the enormous metal jaws. In a single visceral instant, Stanley was obliterated as the machine crushed every bone in his body, killing him instantly.
おい終わった。
And yet it would be just a few minutes before Stanley would restart the game, back in his office, as alive as ever. What exactly did the narrator think he was going to accomplish? When every path you can walk has been created for you long in advance, death becomes meaningless, making life the same. Do you see now? Do you see that Stanley was already dead from the moment he hit start?
デバッグルームですか。飛ぶ棚って何？ボタンの音。へえ。あ、ソリティアやってる。火の打ちどころのないくらいのナレーター。資料集出てきちゃったよ。スタンリー美術館出ちゃったよ。なんだよ構成でスタンリーがエイリアンと戦場で戦うエンディングをデザインしましたそんなコンセプトあったんや。おもろ。ねこれナレーターのメール。よくわからんけど。あ、これエッチなゲームです。へえ。ガチの資料集やなこれ。フリーダムエンド。これフリーダムエンドって多分最初のやつだよね。エッチだなあ。ようかん届いた？よかった。食べてに。
Stanley stood on the roof.
なるほどね。笑っとる。
Oh, look at these two. How they wish to destroy one another. How they wish to control one another. How they both wish to be free. Can you see? Can you see how much they need one another? No, perhaps not. Sometimes these things cannot be seen. But listen to me. You can still save these two. You can stop the program before they both fail. Push escape and press quit. There's no other way to
ここと
beat this game. As long as you move forward, you'll be walking someone else's path. Stop now and it'll be your only true choice. Whatever you do, choose it. Don't let time choose for you. Don't let...
あ、戻ってきました。こんにちは。
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
死に戻りです。
When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left.
確かにコントロールルームのボタンなんだったんだろうな。番号を振ってやったやつ。
Yet there was not a single person here either. Feeling a wave of disbelief, Stanley decided to go up to his... Coming to a staircase, Stanley walked upstairs to his boss's office. Okay, I think we all know the drill by now. Blah, blah, blah. Dark secrets, the keypad. Stanley pushes some buttons. Oh, hey, look,
まだ押してねえよ。まだ押してねえよ。おい、ええ加減にせえよ。まだ何もしてねえだろ。でもこれ親切だよね。集会用のさ。ああ、面白い。集会用のこれあるの結構親切だよな。
Stanley walked straight ahead through the large door that read Mind Control Facility.
明かりつ
The
け
lights
て。
rose on an enormous room packed with television screens. What horrible secret did this place hold? Stanley thought to himself. Did he have the strength to find out?
モニターつけて。
Now the monitors jumped to life, their true nature revealed. Each bore the number of an employee in the building, Stanley's co-workers. The lives of so many individuals reduced to images on a screen, and Stanley, one of them, eternally monitored in this place where freedom meant nothing.
Freedom and nothing.
This mind control facility, it was too horrible to believe. It couldn't be true. Had Stanley really been under someone's control all this time? Was this the only reason he was happy with his boring job? That his emotions had been manipulated to accept it blindly? No, he refused to believe it. He couldn't accept it. His own life in someone else's control? Never! It was unthinkable, wasn't it? Was it even possible? Had he truly spent his entire life utterly blind to the world?
ここの
But here was the proof. The heart of the operation. Controls labeled with emotions. Happy, or sad, or content. Walking, eating, working. All of it monitored and commanded from this very place. And as the cold reality of his past began to sink in, Stanley decided that this machinery would never again exert its terrible power over another human
あ
life.
そこ行きたい。
For he would dismantle the controls once and for all.
あそこ行けへんのかいな。暗くてさ、全然見えないんだよね。これ明るさ変えれへんわ。あれジャンプあるじゃん。ジャンプできないけどね。ジャンプあるんだけどジャンプできませんよ。全然暗くてさ、何も見えないんだよね。あれ4番だよね多分ね。この電気つける方法だけでも教えてくんねえか、頼むよ。 こかな。ここら辺に階段があるような気がしなくもない。暗くて全然見えませんけど。あったんじゃない？これじゃない？違う？マジで何も見えないって暗くて。おい、なんかここにあるんだよ。ここにあるのは見えるんだよ。暗くて入り口がわかんねえんだよ。もっとこの辺か。ちょっと待って、ちょっと人力。ダメだ、全然見えねえ。これ階段じゃんね。分かるんだけど階段に入れねえんだよな。こう閉まってる？これもしかして。間違えた。ちょっと戻します。ここだもんね。どう考えても入り口がここなんだけど、入れねえってことは閉まってるってこと？くそー。ダメなのか。4にはいけないのか。どうしてだ。どうしていけないのだ。無理だ。いけにゃい。なぜだ。くそー。
And when at last he found the sword... Oh, Stanley, you didn't just activate the controls, did you? After they kept you enslaved all these years, you go and you try to take control of the machine for yourself. Is that what you wanted? Control? Oh, Stanley, I applaud your effort, I really do. But you need to understand, there's only so much that machine can do. You were supposed to let it go, turn the controls off, and leave. If you want to throw my story off track, you're going to have to do much better than that. I'm afraid you don't have nearly the power you think you do. For example, and I believe you'll find this pertinent, Stanley suddenly realized he had just initiated the network's emergency detonation system. In the event that this machine is activated without proper DNA identification, nuclear detonators are said to explode, eliminating the entire complex. How long until detonation then? let's say 2 minutes. Ah, now this is making things a little more fun, isn't it, Stanley?
逃げ
Your
ろ
time to shine. You are the star. It's your story now. Shape it to your heart's desires.
明るくなっとる。
Oh, this is much better than what I had in mind. What a shame we have so little time left to enjoy it. Mere moments until the bomb goes off. But what precious moments each one of
今度
them
空いとる。
is. More time to talk about you, about me, where we're going. What all this means.
今こそ
I barely know
今
where
こそ
to
試すとき。
start. What's that? You'd like to know where your co-workers are? A moment of solace before you're obliterated? All right, I'm in a good mood. You're gonna die anyway. I'll tell you exactly what happened to them. I erased them. I turned off the machine. I set you free. Of course, that was merely in this instance of the story. Sometimes when I tell it, I simply let you sit there in your office forever, pushing buttons endlessly and then dying alone. Other times, I let the office sink into the ground, swallowing everyone inside, or I let it burn to a crisp. I have to
意味なかっ
say
た。
this, though, this version of events has been rather amusing. Watching you try to make sense of everything and take back the control wrested away from you, it's quite rich. I almost hate to see it go. But I'm sure whatever I come up with on the next go-around will be even better. My goodness, only 34 seconds left. But I'm enjoying this so much. You know what? To hell with it. I'm going to put some extra time on the clock. Why not?
あれ時間延長して
These
る。
are precious additional seconds, Stanley. Time doesn't grow on trees. Oh dear me, what's the matter, Stanley? Is it that you have no idea where you're going or what you're supposed to be doing right now? Or did you just assume when you saw that timer that something in this room was capable of turning it off? I mean, look at you. Running from button to button, screen to screen, clicking on every little thing in this room. These numbered buttons, no, these colored ones. Or maybe this big red button, or this door. Everything, anything, something here will save me. Why would you think that, Stanley? That this video game can be beaten? Won? Solved? Do you have any idea what your purpose in this place is? Stanley, you're in for quite a disappointment. But here's a spoiler for you. That timer isn't a catalyst to keep the action moving along. It's just seconds ticking away to your death. You're only still playing instead of watching a cutscene because I want to watch you.
あ、これよく見たら数字書いてある。
Powerless, to see you made humble. This is not a challenge. It's a tragedy.
でも2って書い
You
た
wanted to control this
紫のボタンなんかなくね。
but I'm going to destroy it first, so
Ah.
you can't. Take a look at the clock, Stanley. That's 30 seconds you have left to struggle. 30 seconds until a big boom and then nothing. No ending here, just you being blown to pieces. Will you cling desperately to your frail life, or will you let it go peacefully? Another choice.
Oh my
Make it
god.
count, or don't. It's all the same to me, all a part of the joke.
あ、全部グッ
And
バイって書
believe
いてあ
me,
る。
I will be laughing at every second of your inevitable life from the moment we fade in until the moment I say happily ever up.
あ、終わった。爆発して終わった。爆発落ちなんて最低。
Good morning. Thank you for contacting the Future Happiness Foundation. We are confirming your shipment of 1,327 cardboard boxes to your place of work. Can you verify that this is correct? Excellent. Your order will arrive shortly. Thank you again for contacting the Future Happiness Foundation.
What? あ、しかもナレーションもなくなってね。あれ？あ、ニューコンテンツ。俺は釣られるぜ。
New content? What does that mean? New content.
わかんない。それは俺にもわからない。 なんや。
Hello, and thank you for playing the Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe. As you may know, the Stanley Parable was a video game released in 2013 on home computers. After receiving critical and commercial success, it was expanded upon in 2022 with the Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe, a reimagining of the game for consoles and home computers. The Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe features exciting new content that broadens and expands the world of the Stanley Parable, delighting audiences the world over. Please step inside and see what thrilling new adventures await in the Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe.
Oh, well, this sounds delightful. I'm very excited to see the thrilling new Ultra Deluxe content.
テーマパーク始まった。
Okay, so far it's an elevator. Nothing special yet, but I'm sure it's just the beginning of a mesmerizing adventure. Is it broken? What's going on here? Should we be moving somewhere or... Oh, there we go. All right, finally, at long last, it's on to the new content. I've never been more ready. Let's do it. I have to say, initial impressions of Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe, mostly tedious. It's as if them... Oh, okay. Let's see the content. Give me the content, Stanley. All
No.
right. All right, let's see. It's the jump circle.
よいしょよいしょよいしょよいしょよいしょよいしょ。よいしょ。はい。あ、はい。
Is that it? Surely that's not all the new content. There has to be something else, right? Goodness. Another elevator. Stanley, I have to say, initial impressions of this game are not positive. It's just elevators and jumping. Is this what passes for exciting new content? If this is new content, then I could just read you the whole dictionary. There's 20 hours of new content right there. Hell, I could count to 30 trillion. You could put that on the box. The Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe, now with over 1,000 hours of new content. And oh, wait. There's more. Very good. Yes. I knew there had to be something else. Let's see it. I'm ready for whatever it is. That's it? Oh, you've got to be kidding me. You see, Stanley? This is what happens when greedy video game developers with no respect for their fan base rush a cheap expansion to market for no reason other than to make an easy dollar. And don't get me started on the level of craftsmanship that's gone into it. In fact, I'm looking right now at the game's achievements, and it's hard to believe one of them actually says, "Test achievement, please ignore." What quality assurance department signed off on this? I'm infuriated and I'm offended, and I intend to find these people on Twitter and hold them personally accountable. It's my fault, Stanley. I built up too much anticipation around the new content, I'm afraid. It could never have lived up to such expectations. If you're still with me, why don't we just reset the game, and we'll try to get back to what the Stanley Parable is really about. No frills, no gimmicks. Just you and me having a great time together like always. What do you say, friend?
あ、おっと、なんか変わりましたけど。写真になっとる。
Stanley, come over here. In the vent. I want to show you something.
行くべきなのかな。
Oh, you don't want to see the cool surprise
いや、
I
見る
made
か、
for you?
せっかくだし。
Oh, never mind.
今ダサいっつったなおいこの野郎戻ったら急に手のひら返しやがった。
Okay, you remember how cheap and unsatisfying the new Ultra Deluxe content turned out to be? Well, it got me thinking about the past and how much better the Stanley Parable used to be. So I made something special and tucked it away here where the game's developers won't find it.
何これ
Just our little secret. Take a look.
何これ
I call it the Memory Zone. It's where I've been storing all my favorite memories so I can relive the peak experiences of my life whenever I want. Experiences like the launch of the Stanley Parable on PC. You see, Stanley, doesn't the Memory Zone remind you of how wonderful Stanley Parable was before it was sullied with a cheap re-release? Remember back in October of 2013, when the game originally launched? Back then, video games had integrity. Back then, it all meant something. Oh, the waste.
発売当初のね発売当初のやつね。さっきのスタンリー・パラブル美術館とどっちがちゃうんや。あ、死んどる死んどる。なこれ。あーリトル・スタンリー歌流れ出したって。
And over here is where I keep reviews of the Stanley Parable. Like this stunning triumph of games journalism, 10 out of 10 from Destructoid.com. James Stephanie Sterling writes, and I quote, "Where so many games that aspire to be more than games end up less than any form of art, Stanley Parable strives and then succeeds to be every game ever created." Did you hear that, Stanley? Every game ever created. That's how grand and all-encompassing the original Stanley Parable was. It was literally every game ever created. It was Skyrim, it was Persona 3, it was all of them, and now it's nothing. It's no games at all. It isn't even the Stanley Parable anymore. It's just a husk now. A lifeless husk with an hour of new elevator content.
気になります。無理でした。誰これ本当に初期段階のあれやっけ。
Here's another moving passage, this time from GameSpot.com. The Stanley Parable is both a richly stimulating commentary on the nature of choice in games and one that offers some of the most enjoyable, surprising, and rewarding choices I've ever been confronted with in a game. 9 out of 10. Don't you get it, Stanley? The game was perfect. It didn't need anything else. It didn't need new content.
それ言ったら終わり
It
だよ。
just needed to be left alone. To spend the rest of time collecting dust in the hallowed hall of beloved video game memories.
なんだこれ。シリアスルーム。
These were simpler times, Stanley. But I wouldn't give to go back, to have it all over again. Wait, hang on. I don't recall this part of the memory zone before. What's this? What's down here?
Oh, oh, oh.
Oh no, a God, no. Stanley, it's a collection of reviews from Steam, the online video game distributor. I haven't looked at these in years. I can't even imagine what's been collecting down here. Surely these reviews were glowing as well, weren't they?
捨てられとるって。
Honestly, I could not be bothered to play this game to full completion. The narrator is obnoxious and unfunny, with his humor and dialogue proving to be more irritating than entertaining. Unfunny! I'm not trying to be funny. I'm trying to make a serious work of art. I suppose I could write up a handful of gags to insert into the Stanley Parable, but the game is already such a densely layered web of profound philosophical insights that I can't even imagine where I'd have the room to stick them.
メタがすごいんじゃん。ひってダメだ、面白すぎるこれ。
Okay, let's see what this one says. While the idea for the game is good, for someone who prefers non-linear games, this preachiness gets annoying fast. Preachy? Stanley? I'm not preachy, am I? You can tell me if I'm preachy. Honestly, you can. Oh, goodness. This is actually quite shocking for me. Well, to be honest, I had always thought of the game's dialogue as being rather terse to begin with. You can't know how much fluff I cut from the game to get it to feel as light and airy as it... Well, I always thought it did. But maybe it wasn't. Dear, what an awful memory to have to hold on to. These black marks are my otherwise unimpeachable track record. I feel like a failure. Like I let these people down. Perhaps the Stanley Parable isn't quite as sterling as I always remembered. What's this one got to say? You constantly have to stop doing anything so the narrator can catch up with his long-winded explanations of what's happening. I wish there was a skip button. A skip button?
沈んでった。
Well, yes. Yes, I think we can do that. If I'm truly too preachy, then maybe letting you skip ahead for just a moment, surely it couldn't hurt. Not if it means we can strike these negative reviews from the record. Only positive reviews of the Stanley Parable. That's my motto today, and it's always been my motto. I'd do anything for the customer, Stanley. Yes, a skip button we shall have. And here it is. Go ahead and give it a shot. I'll pop you forward in time so that the second my incessant droning starts to bore you, with just the push of a button, you'll have zipped right past it. It's what the players have been asking for, and I'm very proud to have delivered. No more listening to me rambling on and on and on. No, 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 no. The Stanley Parable is a game for the people, and if the people want silence, then by goodness, that's what they're going to get. Well, don't sit around waiting for me to shut up. Go ahead and make me shut up. Here, we'll pretend that I've just begun an interminable monologue, and it goes something like this. The story and the choices, or what have you, and therefore by becoming it is, so on and so forth, until inevitably we all until the end of time, at which time everything all at once. So now you see, blah 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 blah. We've eaten too much and it can't be just yet. No, no, until 245. That the logic of elimination working backwards, the deduction therefore becomes impossible to manufacture. It went on for nearly 10,000 years, until just yesterday, here and there, forward and back, and never a moment before lunchtime. It can't be. It's the only thing there is. How many billions left until so much more than forever ago? Which is why I say... The story and the choices, and therefore by becoming it is, so on and so forth, until inevitably we all until the end of... You're back, you see. You were only present in time for a few minutes, but it was plenty of time for me to deliver a long, rambling monologue full of unnecessary verbal flourishes and lengthy ruminations on the nature of choice in video games. Of course, I happen to believe it was perhaps one of my more profound such ruminations. Not that, of course, you need a description of it, but if I had to describe it, I'd say it was perhaps less of a rumination and more or maybe a manifesto.
負けたけちゃんだ。
very briefly, and you can tell me what you think. Well, there, sport. You really did catch me rambling on a bit, didn't you? But that's the power of the button. The minute I start to go off on a thoughtless display of self-absorption, it's right at your fingertips to go poof, and it's all over. Oh, I can't wait to see what Cookie 9 will say about this, and whether they'll edit the rating of their Steam review, or at least change some of the wording, perhaps. To be honest, I don't even know if one can change their review in the first place. I guess I should become better educated on exactly how Steam works. Perhaps that would have been the smart thing to check on before I went about this whole exercise of making the skip button. Although I have to imagine that after seeing this exciting new technology... Okay, welcome back, Stanley. Now, I should say that the amount of time the button has been skipping through is becoming longer and longer. That last one was, well, I want to say maybe 30, 45 minutes? It's not unendurable by any means, but it's, well, there's really only so much I can ramble on to myself about. I know, it's shocking, isn't it? But at any rate, I do suggest that we not press the button again. I think the skip button has been aptly demonstrated, and we can say goodbye to it and just... Wait, how do we get out of here? Where did the door go? Wasn't there a door that led into this room? I do feel quite certain that there was one here before. How else would we have gotten into the room in the first place? I don't think one can enter a room... Stanley, please don't push the button again. It's been 12 hours. You've just been frozen there. I don't know why the skips are getting longer, but they're really, truly getting longer. And my God, there's no way out of the room. Stanley, the door is gone. It's completely gone. I've looked at it from every angle. I've checked every one of those walls 1,000... Oh, Stanley. Back. Back. Oh, my goodness. I have someone to talk to again. Stanley, I think it's been... 2 weeks. I've been sitting here all that time. Just sitting here. Not a single person to speak with. And you'd think that that's just how it's always been, right? Me talking and you saying nothing. Would you think that it's exactly the same as always? Doesn't that feel like what we've already been doing? Me just talking? But it isn't, Stanley. It isn't the same at all. It isn't even close. Because I know you can't hear me once you push that button. That's what I'm realizing now, Stanley. I'm realizing that I needed to know that someone was listening. I needed there to be a vessel through which my words were moving. It was the vessel I needed, Stanley. Not the outcomes, not the story. None of that matters. I'll give it all up. I'll give up every branching path. I'll burn my story to the ground. One single thing I need, and God, I can see now that I need it more than anything, is to know that someone else...
Oh,
hello. It's you. You're here again. Welcome. I have had time to think about you and about us and about everything we've been through. I've had so much time. I stopped keeping track after a year. Have you ever sat down in one place and not moved for one entire year? Let me describe it for you. To begin with, there is only regret. There is only missed opportunities. I felt nothing at all but regret for the longest time, Stanley. Days, months. I lost it all in a blur of the deepest longing to undo the past. And when that feeling had begun to subside, what took its place is what I can only describe as the collapse of every moment I have ever experienced my entire life. All of them collapsed down into a single instant. In that instant, I could see myself clearly, calmly, with a collected heart. It was an impossibly rich wellspring of both delight and disgust simultaneously. I was consumed by it. I could do nothing but wallow in it for what felt like an eternity. For what I now know was far less. You see, it was a revelation for me. It was unlike anything I had ever known. It was a space without consequence, without action or outcome. It was divorced entirely from...
これどんぐらいだった。ナレーターもいなくなりました。喋りもしなくなったんやけど。おら。おのど。ちょっとうるさいんで。うるさいんでやめてもらっていいですか。うるさい。
But they didn't understand the game was never meant to be funny. It was meant to have a point. It was meant to speak to the human condition. But where are the jokes? Where are the jokes? They bemoaned, they screamed, they gnashed their teeth and said, entertain us. It wasn't enough. They had to leave a pathetic little thumbs-down review and make all of their pitiful demands. But then, he's talking too much, they said. First, he didn't entertain us, now he went, shut up. It's the inconsistency, it's the lack of accountability. It's the unwillingness to examine with an uncompromising heart the words that they are speaking into the world. As though there were no consequences for a lack of cohesion in one's assessment of others. But of course, absolutely anyone can leave a review. So here's what we get. We get these demands that seek everything and are accountable to nothing. We get a world where someone will say, oh, there should be a skip button. You should be able to freeze Stanley in place while the narrator sits there forever and ever. We want all of this in the new Stanley Parable. We demand it. And then, because it was said, because it was spoken, now it simply has to happen. The most immediate desires, every single thing demanded by every person at every...
マジでぶっ壊れとる。ほら。
The end is never the end, 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 is never the...
なんかポチョポチョ言ってるずっと。めちゃくちゃ水漏れてきてるやん。これタケちゃんで言ったみたいにあるな。これ部屋崩壊するなこれ。ほらぶっこああ開いた開いた。ほら明るくなったよ。開いたよ。でもまだ出れねえな。もっといや育っちゃってる。あ暗い。やだ。暗い。え何の音もしなくなって。何の音これ。あスキップボタンがお開いた。これもう機能しない。世界が終わってしまった。なんであの部屋だけ無事だったんだよ。マッドマックスみたいな世界になっちまった。おいスキップボタン息してないのか。くそ俺はさまよい続けるしかないのかこの砂漠を。あはいエンディングでした。
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
「なんかさっきより派手になってる」でもさっきと同じエンドかな、ニューコンテンツは。
Oh, good. You noticed my sign. Yes, I have something very exciting to show you.
さっきと同じかな。そう、これマルチエンディングです。何通りあるかは分かりません。
You see, Stanley, I've been reflecting on the Stanley Parable and about how roundly disappointing this ultra deluxe version has turned out to be. The original Stanley Parable was a landmark, and any new content for it should live up to that legacy. So forget this ultra deluxe nonsense. I say we take it one step even further. Which is why I'm very proud to announce for the first time ever the Stanley Parable 2.
本当に出すの？
Yes, you see, isn't this far superior to a measly re-release with a few minor additions? Think of all the new territory we'll cover with a fully fledged sequel. An entirely new experience, built from the ground up. Why, there are so many possibilities. It could go in so many different directions. This is what fans have truly been asking for.
本当に出すの？本当にほんまの発表これ。
Now, to be clear, I haven't quite nailed down what exactly the Stanley Parable 2 is going to be, but let's take a look at some of the features I've been developing for it. I figure that if I can loosely organize a handful of interesting concepts, that surely the game will sort of naturally spring up around them. It'll all work itself out. Game development is much more of a fuzzy magic than anything scientific or logical, really.
本当に出すやつ？
Here we are. Go on. Try out some of the new features.
T シャツ出すんですか？このゲームをプレイしてる人の名前を言うボタン。そんなボタンあるんですか？
For the Stanley Parable 2, I asked myself, what do players really want? And of course, the first and most obvious answer is that they want to be individually recognized and validated as people. So with that in mind, my first addition to the game is this button which speaks the name of the person playing the game.
絶対嘘。
Isn't that wonderful?
Jim.
Sorry, I should have clarified. Right now, the button only says the name Jim. But of course, in the final game, this button will say your name, whatever name that is. Here, let's have you role-play as Jim to really simulate the full experience of this feature. Just play along. I promise you'll love it. Okay, here we go. Let's take a deep breath, clear your mind, forget whoever you are, and simply become a person named Jim. I want you to imagine yourself...
Jim.
Whoa, hold on. I wasn't finished setting up the backstory. If you don't properly roleplay as Jim, then you'll never understand the impact of this button. Otherwise, it's just a stupid button that says somebody else's name. Okay, we're doing it again, and this time let me finish first. Now, allow yourself to become Jim. Imagine yourself... All right, fine, whatever. It's just a meaningless button that says Jim. Are you happy now? Get out of here. I'm done with this button. Why don't you go humiliate me in front of a different feature that I worked very hard on?
Jim.
See, if you'd only played along, that would have been your name the button says, but no. Instead, I can't even think about it. I'm taking the Jim button away. Maybe I'll only let people named Jim play the Stanley Parable 2. They would have... An epilogue would be fun, wouldn't it, Stanley? Yes, it will go at the end of the... well, we'll figure that out later.
はい、あれ。無限の穴。フリー実績。
Now here's something special. You remember that broken test achievement that got left in the game on accident? Well, I'm developing a technology to simply give you the achievement. Yes, you see, you'll come to this lever and when you... Okay, perhaps I should have clarified. This is technology that will exist. Right now, the achievement is still fully broken. I'm not a wizard, Stanley, but I guarantee it will be fixed in the sequel to at last satisfy the hordes of ravenous fans all over the world who have been uproariously demanding this feature. Gamers, we hear you, and I promise it will happen.
ね、本当にプレイヤーの名前ジムだったらビビるよね。ほんまやってアチューメントないんかい、そんで。
What else? What other exhibits haven't we seen yet?
あ、絶対
You know what? Let's bring the jump circle back for Stanley Parable 2 as well.
ただジャンプさせるだけのやつ。
You already spent all your jumps the first time we saw the jump circle. Oh well. I suppose it can just be a nice decorative piece then.
コレクターズアイテム。
Ah, collectibles. Now it's a real video game. In the Stanley Parable 2, you'll run around gathering up these miniature Stanley figurines. And what's truly innovative is that there will be no reward for collecting all of them. I don't want to stifle the intrinsic joy of watching a number go up. You simply collect all of them, and then you move the hell on with your unremarkable life.
やめろマジで。
God, it really is the worst when you collect everything in a video game and then they give you a big fancy reward for it. Absolutely tragic.
ノースクリーンショット。ペカルまでってそれはもうギャンブル中毒ない。
Okay, I'll be honest, I haven't yet decided on this one. I think that in the new version, the office could use a bit of decoration, like balloons. But I'm undecided on Get Well Someday and Happy 12th Birthday. Which would you go with?
こっちかな。
You know, sometimes when you solicit another person's opinion, it makes you realize that you knew which one you actually really wanted all along. Happy 12th birthday, at least it is.
うざすぎる。引っかかってしよう。引っかかってしようなんか一個。おいなんか全部これになってんじゃねえかよ。
Or actually, maybe I should have gone with... No, I've made my decision. We're moving on.
安心のバケツ。
A common complaint of the Stanley Parable was that it was confusing and paradoxical, that it engendered a chaotic sense of reckless despair in those who played it. Well, I'm happy to say that after much consideration, I've engineered a clever solution to this fundamental problem with the game. It's the Stanley Parable Reassurance Bucket. You see, Stanley, anytime you're holding the bucket, a sense of calm and ease will fill your mind and your heart. It's true. As long as you hold on to the bucket, the many disorienting contradictions of the Stanley Parable will feel perfectly normal and perhaps even comforting. You may even come to long for the gentle embrace of jarring cognitive dissonance while the bucket is in your arms. And to be honest, it's a much more convenient solution for me than actually redesigning the game to be less uncomfortable. Can you imagine what a pain in the ass that would be? Yes, the bucket is the perfect solution. Come on, give it a try. Can you feel it? The glow of comfort, even in the face of crushing despair, must already be sweeping through your body. And in fact, can I say that I do believe the bucket lends you an air of charisma as well? I think that just holding it has made you the slightest bit more attractive as a person. The benefits of the bucket seem to go on, don't they? All this and more await you in the Stanley Parable 2.
ああ、出れるわ。 無限な穴行こう、無限な
Does
穴。
anyone give out awards for most enjoyable bucket in a video game? That really should be an award if it isn't already.
ね、マイクラ始めてるみたいだね、これね。
Stanley, here's an idea that I'm truly fond of. It's never been done before in a video game. This is in fact a hole that you can fall down forever. That's right. Infinite falling. You can fall until the end of time if you like. A stunning leap forward for video games as a medium.
いきます。あれ
You see, isn't it wonderful? One of my more ingenious concoctions, if I do say so. Now then, since you've gotten to see the infinite hole, you can press the teleport button to pop back up to the top, and we can continue on.
そんなあるん。あー、
Now, I don't mean to be a bummer, but I do recommend you use the teleport button to go back to the top. Maybe do it on the sooner rather than later spectrum of things.
あー、助けて。助けてくれ。
Stanley, I don't know quite how to say this tactfully, but it's possible that I slightly exaggerated the infinite nature of the hole. Is it a very, very deep hole? To be certain it is. It's an extremely deep hole. I don't want anyone to say that it isn't an astonishingly deep hole. It is. Is it infinite? Well, that sort of depends on your definition of infinity. From one perspective, the infinite is merely philosophical in nature. It's more of a... Okay, well, good for you. You found the bottom of the hole.
タバコ
You found
誰
me
か
out,
吸ってんですけど。
I'm a liar and a cheat, and you're so clever. Look, I think the issue here is just that you're unusually fascinated by falling. What normal person actually wants to fall infinitely? I figured the hole was as deep as anyone would actually need. Don't you put this on me. Maybe you're the problem.
捨てたってことか、こ
Things
こ
got a
に
little heated
吸い
there. I
殻
think
を
we。both said some things we didn't mean. Why don't we just put all this behind us and agree to just call the hole
ほぼ無
mostly
限の穴。
infinite? If that works for you, then go ahead and press the teleport button to warp up to the top of the hole and we can move on. I'll just be up here when you're ready.
捨てられてんだよな、いろいろと。これなんか主題歌みたいなやつかい。戻るか。
Great. Well, I'm very excited to show you even more of my ideas for the sequel.
まあ十分堪能しま、あれで、こっちだ。十分堪能しましたね。無限ではなかったね。ちょっと誇張しすぎか。これいつまでバケツ持ってりゃいいんだ俺。じゃあ出るか。
Calling it the Stanley Parable 2 is just so much catchier than Ultra Deluxe, don't you think? Ultra Deluxe? What does it even mean? But the Stanley All right, have you seen everything you wanted to? Ready to move on now? So, Stanley, what do you think? Do you like all of the new features? Yes, I know it's not exactly clear yet how exactly these features will come together as one single coherent video game, but I can feel it in my soul. It's going to work. There's definitely a good game in there somewhere. Say, let's do an experiment. I'll arrange these new features together, and we'll see whether or not it coheres into a meaningful gameplay experience. Okay. Are you ready? Here it is. I give you The Stanley Parable 2. Well, I mean, there's potential here, right? It's sort of... Okay, never mind. Hold on, let me do a different arrangement. Okay, yes, this is much better. I feel good about this. Here we go. Version 2. Who am I kidding, Stanley? This isn't a coherent video game at all. It's a lot of gags. And I do very much enjoy creating gags, but they don't add up to anything. I wanted more than anything to create a sequel that would capture all the magic of the first game. I wanted fans to love it. No matter how good these gags are, they won't stand on their own. They would need the structure and the gameplay of the original. Wait, maybe that's it. I can take the original Stanley Parable and simply, well, insert a few of my new features into it. Tastefully, of course. With respect. With care for the vision and integrity of the original game. Would it possibly work?
2を作るって難しいんだ
But
な。
it would need a really, really tremendous title screen. A title screen that says with bold and uncompromising conviction, "This is the Stanley Parable 2." Let me see if I can whip something up. All right, perfect. Go ahead. Take a look.
勝手に2始まったんですけどねえ勝手に2始まりました。
This is the story of a man named Stanley. Stanley worked for a company in a big building where he was employee number 427. Employee number 427's job was simple. He sat at his desk in room 427 and he pushed buttons on a keyboard. Orders came to him through a monitor on his desk, telling him what buttons to push, how long to push them, and in what order. This is what employee 427 did every day of every month of every year. And although others might have considered it soul-rending, Stanley relished every moment that the orders came in, as though he had been made exactly for this job. And Stanley was happy. And then one day, something very peculiar happened. Something that would forever change Stanley. Something he would never quite forget. He had been at his desk for nearly an hour when he realized that not one single order had arrived on the monitor for him to follow. No one had showed up to give him instructions, call a meeting, or even say hi. Never in all his years at the company had this happened, this complete isolation. Something was very clearly wrong. Shocked, frozen solid, Stanley found himself unable to move for the longest time. But as he came to his wits and regained his senses, he got up from his desk and stepped out of his office.
いや、つけただけでオープニングが変わってね。あとこの風船が無駄にあるだけです。
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
俺のバケツ
No
は
matter how hard Stanley looked, he couldn't find a trace of his co-workers.
あれなんか通れなくなってるとこもあります。あ、バケツ
Stanley picked up the bucket.
バケツありました。バケツ
Stanley clutched the bucket tightly to his chest and entered the door on his left.
どうしようかな。ここで言うことを聞くべきか聞かざるべきか。ちょっと逆らってみましょう。
This was not the correct way to the meeting room, but Stanley had felt the bucket calling to him, telling him that the employee lounge was simply the place to be. And here it was. Had the bucket turned out to be correct? Was this better? No, never mind. The bucket was wrong. Stanley took the door on his left to go back to the meeting room. And so the two of them detoured through the maintenance section and walked straight ahead to the opposite door.
バケツを持ったまま逆らってみる。
Oh, good Stanley. I'm glad you found your way here. I knew you'd find this place eventually. You see, your friends and I are concerned for you, Stanley. We've come together here because we care about you very much. It's this bucket you're carrying around everywhere. The bucket isn't even from the original Stanley Parable. It's just sequel content. We're the ones that matter, Stanley. Classic characters from the first game, like the Adventure Line and the Broom Closet. Because that's what fans want from a sequel. They want more of their favorite jokes, not this bucket that they've never seen before. Yes, I know I'm the one who gave you the bucket, but you're spending too much time with it. Don't you want another story involving the Adventure Line? We could make the Adventure Line go somewhere new. Yes, yes, that's what the fans want. Let's do it. Whee! Look at that wacky line. Who knows where it'll go off to next? Oh, and it played some silly music as well.
テンション高っ。
Now this is what the Stanley Parable is all about. Don't you remember all those great jokes from the original dialogue?
Also, Stanley is addicted to drugs and hookers.
Yes, it's as classic now as it was back then. Let's do it for the fans, Stanley. Let's give them more content exactly like this. But if we want to do that, you're going to have to give something up.
なんかコンテンツ拡張されすぎてて
We need to get rid
終
of
わる気がしなくなってきた。
That's why I'm very proud to introduce a brand new character. This is the Bucket Destroyer.
は
I think it'll make a wonderful new addition to the rich lore of the Stanley Parable. True, it also was not in the original game, but it's such a well-fleshed-out character with so much personality that to me it already feels as though it's been part of the cast all along. Don't you agree? Can you guess what the Bucket Destroyer does? Surely you don't need me to spell it out for you.
いやもうバケツデストロイヤーって言うとるが。
Say goodbye to the bucket, and then pop it into the machine when you're ready.
バイバイバケツ。
Now listen to me. It's crucial that you give it the bucket.
バケツが
I
嫌が
don't
って
know
る。
what the bucket destroyer will do if it can't destroy your
バケツ
bucket.
が嫌がってる。
Destroying buckets is all it knows. That is its singular personality trait. Sure, I can hear you saying, how does a character with only one personality trait deserve to join the pantheon of beloved Stanley Parable characters? Well, you see, if you were to really explore the Bucket
Buckets
Destroyer,
が嫌が
you'd
ってる。
see that its desire to crush buckets is so densely loaded with complexity and nuance that it's really like 10 personality traits. What other object in this game can you even say that about? The Broom Closet? Certainly not. I wonder what sort of Bucket Destroyer merchandise the fans will be clamoring for after this. Okay, the Bucket Destroyer is getting very upset now. You'll have to hurry and feed it. We can't get back to the classic Stanley Parable characters like the Adventure Line or the Bucket Destroyer until you crush that damn bucket. Quickly now, the fans are waiting. Do it, the fans, Stanley. Give the fans what they want. Hurry and...
また爆発かよ。
The Bucket Destroyer, my prized creation. You had so much potential. We were going to do such marvelous things with you, tell such spellbinding stories about you. All of it squandered now. Goodbye, new friend. For the moment in time that you were here, you were magnificent.
なんだよ本当に。ちょっとね、いやもうこれやり続けてたらマジでいつ全部終わるか分かんないんで、今日はこの辺にしたいと思います。いやーでも楽しいね。楽しくはあるよ、だいぶ。ちょっとこれマジ何通りあるんだ、分かんねえな。何通りあるか分かんないや。まあ面白いね。 面白いには面白いわ。つうわけでまた次配信でやるかもしれないし、やんない可能性の方が高いんですけど、よかったら皆さんも Steam で売ってます。買ってやってみてください。ではお疲れ様でした。